Hey everybody, it's Emmanuel, and I have this new project that I want to give a try, which is called Divide and Conquer. I looked for a video on the internet about it, but I didn't find any, so I thought maybe I would show you how I'm making it, and that might help some others to make the Divide and Conquer. So if you've never bought a By Annie manual book, here is what it looks like. There are 14 pages. And it is all broken down in the different steps. But what's interesting is that the last page is all these little tags. So you just photocopy them and cut them out. And what I do is I join them on these little pegs that I bought from Moda. So I have every single one is ready. And I know how many I have to prepare. And once you've prepared your pieces, then you just attach it on there. Because on the explanation sheets, at one point, it's going to say that you need, like for example here, this is my handle tabs. So you will need your handle tabs. Now, this video is to show you how I managed to bring the bag together, but I'm not going to provide, of course, the measurements. You need to go and buy, of course, the leaflet from your local shop or from directly on the By Annie website. But this is how I work, and this is how I do it. So I have all my little tags. And then as you're preparing all your pieces, at least you know where you're at and you know what you're missing and how many other pieces you have to prepare. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about the section 5, which is prepare inner pocket pages. And this is section A of it, which is prepare inner pockets. The inner pockets are made up of the zipper and the mesh. So when you cut your mesh, make sure that it spreads out like this and not like that, because it's going to be like this in the bag. So you want it, of course, that when you add things in it, that it stretches horizontally and not vertically. I've prepared, you need to prepare 4. So I've got my 3 ready, and I left one out so that I could show you how to do it. So everything is, pretty clear on the document, but this is the way it goes. You take your zipper, okay? The closing of the zipper should be going left. You put your zipper facing down, and you put the mesh over it, and then you clip all over. And once you've done that, you clip it in the way that the flat piece of your clip is at the bottom, because once you're going to go to the sewing machine, you're going to turn it over. So you're going to actually go to the sewing machine and you're going to be placing it this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew against the feeds of the zipper. And once I've sewn here, I'm going to fold my mesh over, and to keep this second piece of my mesh in place, I'm going to sew over here. So I'm going to really get it into place. So this is what it's going to look like. So facing, I'm going to have one here, the thread is going here, and then the second thread is over here, and that keeps my mesh really nice and flat. Make sure that here you don't have any excess mesh sticking out. If you do, then cut it so that when everything is open like this, it's really nice and everything is flat. And make sure that your zipper is closing to the left and opening to the right. Okay, so I'm going to be sewing my zipper on my mesh, and to start I'm going to be using this foot. This is a zipper foot, so I'm going to start out with my zipper foot. There are two sides. You can put it on this or that. I'm going to go on the left side and click it into place. Once I've done that, I'm going to get my thread out of the way, and I'm just going to place. So I'm going to take my first little clip out of the way, and I'm going to press down, and this foot is specifically made for the zippers, meaning that there's a little slight here in the foot where this part, sticking out part of the zipper, is going to slide underneath, and it's not going to bother you, but it will allow you to be really nice close to the edge. Okay, now once you reach your zipper, this is going to be a little bit technical because you want to bring your zipper to the back side, but because your foot is so close to the zipper, it might be a bit complicated. So what I do is I'm going to lift the foot, slide my zipper, but then I'm stuck because of the back of the foot. So what I'm going to do is, because my needle is down, and make sure that your needle stays down, I'm going to slightly turn this and then up and then come back. And there you go. Got my zipper on the other side. Okay, so now that I have just cutting all the little pieces off, now that I have my zipper that is sewn like this, I'm gonna simply fold my mesh. So the fact of sewing it so close here, it makes it the fold, and then I'm just gonna like press it just to give it the shape, and then I'm gonna just change the foot. So take the zipper foot off, come back to a normal. I come back to a normal foot, get my normal foot back in there, and I'm gonna close my zipper for the moment, bring it back, and now I'm going to use my left side of my foot as a reference guide, and you will see that my needle is going to be right on the edge on the right hand side thanks to the foot. So I'm going to show you up close. Okay, so this is what it did. Here you can see my sewing thanks to the previous foot. And now that I have this foot into place, I put the zipper against this side, and then turns out that my needle is going to be here on the edge. So everything will be nice and parallel. Once you reach this part, you lift your foot, and then you just slide your element back. You bring down your foot, and you just continue. And there you go. Everything will be in place, and that's how you do the inner pocket. Okay, so I'm making the inner pages. So to do so, you'll need your two zipper and mesh. You're gonna sew the rectangle with the mesh on top of your inner rectangle, and then you're gonna sew the other side, and then you're gonna cut the edges here in a circle shape. To do so, I use the Marty Michelle template, which is the just circle. I just used the template, and that's what I'm going to put on this side here, and then cut the excess. And once you've cut your excess, you go back to the sewing machine, and then you sew it again. The tricky part is when you reach this this part here, because you're actually going to be cutting the zipper. So once you've cut it, place immediately a wonder clip so that it keeps it into place. And then same thing, you're going to come and sew over it. So there are 2 pockets to make. This is the first one. So for the second, I have my rectangle for the middle. I have my mesh and zipper. So I'm gonna sew them like this on top. Okay. Once you've cut both, you've sewn both sides, then you're gonna cut the excess mesh that you will have at the end. So it goes like this, zippers on the left, or zippers closing on the left. All right, so I'm going to sew this, I'm going to sew that afterwards. I'm going to cut my corners, and I'm going to make this another one of these. All right, so the next step on the document is called the attachment strip. So you need to make an attachment strip that you're going to sew at the bottom of your page. To do the attachment strip, you need your 2 strips, a fusible interface here, and then you're going to sew them together, and then sew the edges, turn them back inside out, sew the sides, and then that's going to make the attachments. Chapter 5, prepare inner pocket pages. D section, bind edges. So this is the result for that part. She says to, she shows the technique to make your binding, because what you want is, you want this. You want that when you're doing this, you have it stretchy, and because you're doing on the, it's the bias. So if you follow the instructions of that section, this is what you should obtain. She says to Annie recommends to not iron it so that it doesn't make a fold here. You want to keep it nice like this. So you actually pin your binding up. So binding done. Okay, so back to my inner pocket. So once you've sewn this little extra piece here, you're going to sew the bias on it. So you just set it, and that's why we by Annie does these rounded here edges, because then it really makes it easier to come and bind. The fact that we did a binding that was on the diagonal of the fabric, you have the explanation in the document. It's because here when you do this, see, it really takes the fold properly. And the fact that she recommends not to iron it, just to pin it, a little reminder, this is what I've prepared. So they are pinned so that it stays folded into 2. And it's because that when you do this, see, when you put the bias back over, there's no wrinkle, there's nothing. It's really nice, and it comes and fits perfectly. So you just have to do this for both. Now, the thing is, she says in the explanations to go to the sewing machine and to sew this into place. But personally, I'm going to do it by hand. So I'm going to place my bias by hand. It's just that my sewing machine isn't that efficient, and I'm not sure that I'm going to be doing this really straight. So I prefer to do it by hand. So I'm going to do, both of my pockets are ready. And so I'm just going to sew this by hand, meaning that I'm going to do what's called an invisible stitch. So I'm just going to like stitch with an inside and then against the fabric between the mesh, and behind the mesh there's the fabric. So I'll just go in there. I'll be coming around here. And just place the bias all around the pockets. So this is section 6, prepare zipper strip loop. So I have my two bands here that are quilted bands, you know. And all you do is you just put back to back, and then you stitch. And then because you want to hide your edge, then you fold. So you pull on this out and then you stitch again. So here there are 2 stitches. One that I sewed once it was like this. I sewed it, and then I pulled this out and I sewed again. And I did the same thing on both sides. So you end up with your zipper. Don't forget, it needs to be a double. So you end up with your zipper and your 2 strips. And that has, you have to double check that the width is proper, because here when you sew it, you might sew it differently with your zipper. So if you're pulling it out too much, then you need to cut it down. You have the measurements on the technical sheets, of course. Now, once you have your big strip here, you're going to add, and that's why they need all to be the same width, is because you're going to add this piece here. So I prepared this piece and I sewed it. I sewed it to the zipper, and then I folded it, and what you do is you do one of these just so that it protects the raw edges. So I did that, and you do that on both sides. So this is going to be the bottom part, and this is going to be your top part. And once you start sewing all your pieces together, you need to find the middle. So you actually fold this into 2, find the middle, then you fold the whole lot, you mark the middle, and then you fold it the other way, placing these pins face to face, and then you pin it here. So this is your center part, which is going to be like this. So that's done. So moving on to the next part. So all the explanations to do this are quite clear, because you also have the videos on the Bayani website. So you have the videos. So this is quite easy to make, as she really shows how to do all the steps. So on the explanation sheet, what I'm going to show you is the number 4, prepare compartments. So it's attach zipper. So you will have a small side and a big side. And then you're going to want to sew. Here, it didn't come out really good because I used the paper that was provided with the vinyl. So I found another solution. So this is what I'm going to show you. So what you do is you place your zipper. Behind it, you place your vinyl. And then behind it, I have my freezer paper. And I just place it. And then I pin everybody together. And I'm going to go and sew on the edge. To do this, I like to use my zipper foot. The reason is that here it has a little arch here, and it allows the teeth of the zipper to slide underneath and still keep the foot right on top of this area here. So first I'm going to sew here really close to the zipper teeth. I think that it's good to do that. And then I'm going to fold the vinyl over and then just move this on to the left. And then, so then my needle will be heading in here. and then I'll show you what it looks like. So once you reach where the zipper is going to be in the way, this is how I do it. I pull it back, I lift the foot, but I leave the needle in. I slightly turn everything, because then it's really going to be stuck because of the up. You turn it, get it out of the way, then turn everything back and put the foot back down, and finish it off. Okay, so now that I'm finished, I could eventually turn everything over like this, because now I want to fold, and so that my zipper is really like flat in front of the vinyl. The thing is, if I do that, my paper is in the way. So I'm just gonna get my paper off. And you just tear it off, okay? And if you have like just itsy bitsy pieces like that, you just grab a tweezer and then you just pull them out of the way. Here we go. Okay, so you just get them out of the way. But otherwise, if you really pull it like this, it just comes off without leaving any piece. But if it does, tweezer, and there you go. Okay, so the first time my foot was clamped here, so my needle fell in this hole here, so I could like sew as close as possible to the teeth. And now I moved it over, so now it's clamped on this side, therefore my needle goes on this side. And that's how I'm going to get this edge done. And of course I have my paper, my vinyl, and my zipper. And what I did is that to be able to clip them in place, I've opened my zipper, and then that allows me to place my wonder clips. So I've sewn my zipper to my vinyl, but now I have to make sure that this has a certain height, and depending on how you're sewing here, the distances that you're giving it to, it might have a few inches off. So the idea is to be sure that I'm cutting this right. I've clipped on the edge of my board, I've clipped my top vinyl. You have the zipper, and it says in the instructions that whatever you're going to cut off, cut it from the bottom. Don't touch the top. Of course, the top being so small, it's best to cut off the what you have maybe too much at the bottom. Okay, so now I have to cut around here, and I must admit this is quite scary. I don't really like doing this because I don't want to mess up, because if you mess up, I'm not sure how you can get this back. But anyways, I have my circle from Marty Michelle templates, and then I just go slowly, and because of the quality of the zipper, there you go, just by pressing it slowly, going twice, and that's it. Now, because this is the opening side of the zipper, I'm going to grab a wonder clip and then try and not let go, and up, clip it together so that it doesn't, so that it stays here. Okay, so my middle piece, which is called the zipper loop in the explanation, is all made. You know, I have my vinyl, I have my inner pockets that are in place. So this is called the side strip loop, and what you do is you mark the middle of your loop, and then you align your pins that represent the middle. You align them together, and then you put your little wonder clips to hold it together. Now the thing is that you can help yourself with is not only have this middle here to help you, but also over here, it's gonna nest. It should nest because you have the same thing inside. It will nest, so that's another place to clip it. Okay, so now that everything is clipped, my side strip loop is clipped to my zipper loop, then I can place a piece of paper on my machine, because otherwise my vinyl is going to stick to my machine. So I'm just going to put a big piece of paper on my machine, and then sew all the way around. This is my zipper strip. This is my inside pocket, and this is the vinyl. And underneath all that, I put another piece of paper, because the vinyl being on top of my sewing machine is going to stick to the plate here. So I've just put my sheet underneath. And I've marked the middle, so I've joined all the pieces, and then this piece here had this little extra piece here at the bottom, and that goes in between the vinyl and the zipper strip. Okay, so these are the zipper pulls. The zipper pull, you take your piece of fabric, you fold it into two, and you press it, and then you take the side and you press it inwards, and you just press it with your nail. Now, if you have a really small iron, give it a try, but I don't have a small iron. I only have like a big one, so this is quite small. So you just press it like this on each side. You need to press each side. You fold. And then how do you know where to fold it? It's easy, because since you have a marking in the middle, you just bring the edge to the marking in the middle, and that's it. Once I've done that, I'm gonna reopen it and then fold the extremity. I'm gonna fold it like this, and then fold along the markings and pin it. So I'm gonna pin this, and then I'm gonna just pin the whole rest so that it doesn't move. I'm gonna fold the other end as well. So you'll have your pieces ready like this. You pin it, and then you put it through the sewing machine, and that's where you're gonna get your little zipper pull, and then you just slide that into the zipper and you make a knot, and that's ready. Okay, so in the large bag, there's a section D2 which tells you how to make the strap pad. So the strap pad, you're going to need your piece. On the piece, you're going to put the loop, and it gives you the measurements at which distance to put it. Then you're going to prepare another piece, and on the other piece, you're going to put the hook. And she also gives you the measurements of how where to place these lines, and then you're going to sew through those lines. So you sew through these lines, you sew all around to make the whole pad together, and that's the first step. And then you see it's already starts having that shape. And then the next steps are going to be making the corners round and then adding a bias. Okay, so now I have to round up my pad. So what I do is I use my circle from Just Circles from Marty Michelle, and then you just align the sides. What I do is I put my fingers against the side, and then I come and bump my template against my finger, and then I know I'm on the edges. And you can either cut it directly with your rotary cutter, or you can mark it and then cut it with the scissors, whichever is your preferred way. Okay, so now that I've marked, I just grab my scissors here. These are Fons and Porter scissors, and I really like them. They're really nice to use, and they cut really well. And here we go. This is a bit stressful. So on the back side, I have the hook, so it's going to be a little bit might present a bit of resistance, but so it is presenting resistance, but okay. And then just okay, that's 2. Three, and all right, there we go. Oops. Okay, so now my pad is rounded, and now I'm going to put the bias. Okay, so now that I've finished doing cutting my pad, you know, I cut the circle to make it like this shape. I've added the bias. So the fact that the bias is not ironed, this part here won't have any markings, so that here when you're gonna put it in the back, it can move. The fabric can move. There won't be any marks or anything. That's the reason why the bias has the pins in it to keep it folded, but not to have any markings. Okay, so now I'm just gonna sew it into place. All right, so I finished my strap pad. So I sewed on this side. This is the side that I sewed the bias, and then I folded it over, and here I did it by hand. I hand sewed it an invisible stitch rather than doing it through the machine, because through the machine I'm never sure that I'm gonna be doing it properly. Now one thing is, here when you go you try to go through this, it's really difficult. Now you want to, at least, even if you don't have as many stitches as you would have like over here, I still want this piece to be attached to the pad. So what I did is I put my needle in, and then it's really difficult to pull it out. So I have this little tool here, and what it does is that once your needle is in, you stick that on the needle, you press down so that it has like this little system. See that little, okay, that little branch here, that's going to go and grab your needle, and that's going to help you pull the needle out. I have no idea what it's called, but it's really practical. And then also it has like a little cutter here. So very useful tool. Okay, so this is done. Okay, so when I placed my zipper facing my piece, I've added just a little bit extra. So the zipper sticks out a little bit. And also when putting my needle, instead of putting it in the middle, which would have been like really on the edge and not sure that it would have taken up the stabilizer here, I'm not sure that it would have taken the soft and stable here. I've moved my needle to the left. And then the way I know where, it's because here my foot goes against the zipper. So that gives me a guideline. Okay. And as you can see my needle can shift over from the right to the, or at least from the middle to the right. It can also shift it to the, oops. Okay, so it can also shift. So here it's on the left. I can have it in the middle, but I can also have it on the right hand side. So that's quite useful. Okay, so now I've turned my pocket over, and now I'm gonna just fold like this. So see, the fact that my zipper is sticking out a bit, it's gonna cover perfectly the raw edges. The other thing to pay attention is your color of thread. When I did this here, the top was yellow and the bottom was blue. So my top thread was yellow and my bottom thread was blue. Now that I'm turning this and doing this way, it's the same thing. My top's going to be yellow and my bottom's going to be blue. So no need to change my position of the colors. Now here, I'm going to decide whether I'm going to leave my needle on the middle or put it to the right. So I'm actually going to I'm going to put it to the left. And this is where the By Annie stiletto is very, very useful, because then you can like just hold that down. Okay, so need to move it over. Okay, so you just grab, press it down, and then the stiletto will allow you to keep it pressed down until you reach it with your needle. once I've reached with the needle, I move a little bit forward down, and here just grab your stiletto and make sure that it stays in place, and that's it. Okay, so this is what it looks like once you're done. And then on the front it does the little there we go. So this is section 2, make handle units and backstrap, and this is the A, make handles, and B, make handle tabs. So what you do is you have your fabric, you fold it into 2, you sew the side, and then what I do is I don't iron it. I put it flat like that, and I press the seam open with my nail, because I don't want, by ironing it, you're going to flatten it, and then you're going to create a fold that when you want to turn it inside out is not going to be helpful. To turn the fabric inside out, I use this tool, which is called the prime turning set. So I use the big one here in the middle. Once I've turned it inside out, I use the stabilizer, and I slid the stabilizer inside. And then you're going to use a rectangle ring, and you're just going to slide the rectangle ring. There might be a direction or not on the rectangle ring, so just double check it. And then slide it in, press it in place, and what I do for the moment is I pin the bottom here to keep it from moving. Okay, so once you've done that, then you go to your sewing machine and you do a X. So like this. So you do an X to keep the square ring in place. Okay, so the number 2, make handle units and backstrap. I'm not going to make the backstrap. I'm just going to do my front and my back and my handles. That's it. So make handle units. So the way it goes is that you prepare your strip, and then you start by putting your strip inside the loop. So you go in and out and in again. And once you've done that, you sew it into place. Okay, so this middle piece here is sewn, so it's attached to the loop. Then the piece, you're going to go into your handle pieces, your handle tabs, and then making sure that when you fold that your seam is back to back, and then you bring the piece back into the metal ring, up and back out, so it covers what you've just made, and then that piece goes back to the other handle. Always making sure, of course, that both of your handles are in the same direction. So I have my pin that shows me where's my front. So my front is here. And then when you're doing your, so that when you're doing all that, making sure that you're keeping it all in the right direction. Meaning that when you're going through these 2 pieces here, over here the back is there, and over here the 2 seams go face to face. And okay, and so that's ready. Now once that's ready, you're going to take your piece. So this is going to be my front. So I have my big piece as mentioned, and I've sewn my handles in place. So my handles are in place. The lines are indicated, so you just trace exactly as it's said in the explanation. on the explanation sheet. Okay, so once this is done, once you've prepared that, then you have to prepare your front pocket. So the way the front pocket works is that you have your quilted piece. You're going to add this piece here as the instructions. You're going to sew it. You're going to press it up. Then you're going to sew your zipper. And the technique that Annie has is that if you leave the zipper sticking just slightly, then when you fold it like this, it's going to hide the raw edge. And on the front, it's going to make this little bump thingy, which is quite funny. Okay, then you sew at the top of your zipper. You're going to sew your piece, all the instructions, and that's your front pocket, and it's ready. And so the front pocket, if everything's okay, will fit exactly along the line, meaning that on this piece I drew a line here. There's a line right there, and in fact, if I go like this, it all fits. So now just need to get all this together. Okay, so once you've sewn all your handles with the back piece, then you sew the front piece to the back piece. You sew on all edges here, and then you sew across here along the line that was traced as per the pattern. Okay, this is the front. So here the front has this extra piece here. It's not used for anything. It's just that you know that this is your front, and that this is the back. So the back is exactly like the front. You have your front piece, you have your back piece, and then you add this to your zipper, and then you sew along the line that you've traced on your back piece, and then you sew over the handles. And so when you open, then you can see the handles that are here. Okay. Now once you've done all that, you need to make your corners in a circle. And that's kind of stressing to cut out your pieces like that, but it's got to be done. So for the bottom part, it's easy. So I have my template. I just place it like this, use my fingers to feel that it's right on the edges. And rather than doing directly with my cutter, I prefer to mark it. So that's one. Then I do the same thing on the other side. So make sure that my template is right on the edge. And then now here, this is easy to cut because you have, it's just the soft and stable in two pieces, one the top and the underneath, and that's all. Once you turn this, then here it's even easier because it's just one layer of soft and stable. Now the thing is, here, because of the handles, I can't really put my template, so I just, just turn it over. So for one side, you so here you just flatten your handle and then bring your template on the edge like this and just mark. Okay. And then take the other side, flatten your handle. Need to cut these threads off. Sorry. And then place your template and drop your template. Okay. Finding all these threads. Okay. So once you've marked your corners, you just take your scissors and you just cut. It's a bit stressful because once you have all your pieces that are nice and made up, you really don't want to mess up, because once you have all this made, okay, and over here. And once you've cut all your corners like that, then you need to go back to the machine to flatten back this, okay, so that the next steps are easier, which is actually the last step, is going to be sewing this to the bag. Okay, so this is called the a zipper strip loop, and this is your side strip loop. So I've sewn my side strip loop, and I'm placing the other one, and I'm attaching the other one. Now the thing is, when you're placing it, make sure that you've marked all your sides. Make sure that all your sides are marked and that you align your pins. And then here, always, and the same thing here goes here, is that here you'll have the bump. All right, so make sure that the middle part, this piece here is going inwards and this piece here is going outwards. So it's going to make a, here you need to nest them, and that's going to make it easy for you to attach everything. And once you've done that, you go from your pin. I recommend to go from your pins, and from your pins you add your little wonder clips. Okay, and then you just place your wonder clips. Now don't clip it down too far, just where the previous sewing mark is, because the vinyl has been already sewn, so you can take that as a marker. Okay, and then here just making sure, making sure that everything is nicely aligned and clipping. Okay, and then you just clip as much as you can, and don't hesitate to use a lot of clips. I mean, the more clipped it is in place, the easier it's going to be to sew afterwards. All right. Okay, so this one is ready to be sewn in place. Now the other one has been sewn. Okay, so you see the here, and that's where there also going to be a bias, and the bias then, once it's placed, needs to be sewn inwards, like here, this way. So that as well, I intend to do it by hand. Okay, all right. Okay, so here is where the bag is at. We have the zipper, we have the 2 loops here, then these other 2 loops that I've sewn into place. Once you've sewn into place, you have to put the bias, and I'm going to sew this by hand. I'm not going to do it by machine. I prefer doing it by hand than getting it all weird and whatever. And then I won't have like a sewing marking here eventually. So so I have both. Of course, I did both sides. Both sides need to be sewn into place. The bias at least needs to be sewn into place, and that's where. Okay, so everything inside is okay. The center part is done. So now I need to do the front and the back. Okay, update on my divide and conquer. All my pockets, inside pockets are done. My vinyl is in place. I'm just gonna hand sew this down. So the main body is done, and now I have just the 2 pockets front and back to do. Bag update. The front piece is in place, it's sewn. The bias is in place. I just need to do this by hand, stitch that. And once that will be done, then I'll be stitching the back, placing the bias, stitching it, and that's it. Okay, it's finished. It opens as a suitcase, and it has the pockets and the deep vinyl pockets here.